Hi there. Welcome back to the Achieve Intentional Transformation podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Leonie H. Mattison, and I truly appreciate your presence and the gift of your time being here with me today. You've joined me for episode 3 in our 7-part series focused on reweaving your life and leadership through the T.H.R.E.A.D thread system. This framework is designed really to help you navigate personal and professional disruptions with clarity, courage, and integrity. My vision is to see you lead and live with intentionality. So thank you. Thank you for being here, for showing up for yourself. And if this is the first time that you've joined the show, welcome. Welcome to our community. Before we move forward, I'd like to take a moment and let's revisit our journey so far. In episode 1, we recognized disruption not just cognitively, but physically. During that episode, you were invited to acknowledge how disruption manifests itself in your bodies, your pace, and your emotional rhythms. In episode 2, we explored the first stage of the thread system, which is to think deeply. You examined who you aspire to be in the midst of and beyond disruption. And so if you have not yet listened to those 2 episodes, I encourage you to go ahead and do so. They're right here. Just look right on screen. You can find those episodes wherever podcast is offered. Go ahead and check it out. Today, we will delve into the second stage, which is to harvest wisdom. Here's the truth, my friends. When immersed in disruption, all you may perceive are the loose threads of confusion, the frayed edges of uncertainty, and the knots of discomfort, right? We're all familiar with those feelings. This is because they represent the moments where the pattern seems to unravel. When I say the patterns, I mean the patterns of your life and leadership. During disruptive moments, it's like they're unraveling like a tapestry, and you just see the threads just keep reeling like it's going down yonder, right? And during those moments, it makes it hard to remember that your life and leadership is like a design that's being formed, because you cannot see that in the moment when all around you it's like your eyes, your focus is on the underside of the weave. Here's what I want you to remember. You are not unraveling. You are being rewoven. And my aim today is to help you uncover this insight. So here's the question I have for us today. What is this experience, this disruption that you're currently navigating? What is it teaching you about your identity, your expectations, your limitations, and your leadership before you move on? I imagine that many of you tuning in today may have awakened feeling trapped in the midst of disruption that continues to evolve. And just when you think you've adjusted, something changes again, prompting you to recalibrate once more. Some of you may be holding everything together on the outside while questioning inwardly, what am I supposed to do with this? I also imagine that you're carrying the weight of something yet to be articulated. Maybe for you, it's a shift that occurred, and even as you navigate your day, a part of you, it feels stuck and uncertain about how to progress from what has transpired. Maybe for you others, it's another aspect of you is no longer interested in returning to the past as you know deep down, you know it in your knowing, right? That what you've survived shifted something on the inside of you. And you recognize that reverting is no longer an option. What you once hoped for, you know in your heart that it is no longer unfolding as you anticipated. Perhaps this disruption arrived without warning, right? But it landed heavily. I have had those moments. It might have been a decision that was made behind closed doors, or a relationship that ended sooner than you expected, or a conversation where the atmosphere shifted before you fully grasped the change. Or maybe for others, it's a path you once walked with care and intention suddenly narrowed, It's like everything vanished altogether. And you're standing at the edge of what was once familiar, holding the consequences of that turn while still expected to lead, parent, right? And remain steady for those around you. And if I ask you right now to slow down or invite you to harvest wisdom from this moment, it may seem impossible, exhausting, or even unfair. And right now, my friend, you might feel as though you've been dropped into the center of a labyrinth with no clear direction. You know you cannot remain where you are, yet the path forward isn't apparent. The turns are tight, the walls feel constricted, and from your vantage point, the center is nowhere to be found. In such moments, certain habits may surface uninvited. And what I mean by that is, you might find yourself tightening your schedule, searching for updates that never arrive, replaying conversations late into the night, raising your standards to unreasonable heights, or even becoming unusually quiet. For others, you may find that you over-explain, over-function, and absorb the emotions of others as if they are your responsibility. You might feel pressure to appear stable, to shield others from your uncertainty, to carry the burden without revealing it, and every instinct in you encourages you to seek the quickest exit. Here's what I want you to know. None of this is arbitrary. It is how you have learned to survive disruption. Your reactions under pressure, my friends, do not define your personality. They reveal your pattern. But I want you to know this. In my work with leaders and from my own experiences, I have encountered this moment many times. And I want you to also know that I understand the urge to quote unquote bounce back quickly. It sounds good, right? To push past the discomfort rather than take the time to walk into it and walk through it alongside it with awareness. And I know why as well, because many of us recognize how risky it can feel to pause when so much depends on you, when others are observing, when outcomes carry weight, right? And when you have been conditioned to associate composure with competence. My friends, you were never meant to remain stuck in survival mode or simply push through disruption without first reclaiming its wisdom. This moment that you're navigating right now, and I know for many of you it might be very painful, confusing, or even frustrating. This moment calls you to pause and reflect on what has been subtly shaping your decisions, influencing your expectations, and defining the standards you hold for yourself. This is not a step back. I know it feels like it is a step back and even a setback. No, it is an opportunity. for you to live and lead with greater self-awareness and intentionality. Because clarity begins the moment you stop negotiating your reality. And I know this because I have had so many personal and professional disruptive moments. I have lived in many seasons unnecessarily. And my friends, I want you to hear my heart today. You must never allow external volatility to lead your internal instability. The times will demand urgency, yes, but urgency is not a strategy. Disruption will test your identity before it tests your leadership, but you have the power to maintain your peace, uphold your courage, protect your values, and safeguard your vision as you prepare consistently, purposefully, and sometimes even quietly for what lies ahead. This brings us to the image of Sankofa, an Akan teaching from Ghana symbolizing the idea of going back to fetch it. And I love that image. I refer to it quite often because it's an image that often depicts a bird moving forward while looking back, carrying a precious egg. And the message is both powerful and timely for anyone navigating change right in this moment. And here's the message. You do not have to forge a better future by neglecting what remains unhealed or what needs to be transformed. Real progress necessitates retrieval. Yes. So I know you may be saying, Dr. Lee, disruption has altered how I'm leading and how I show up in rooms. Here's what I have to say to you about that. It does not have the power to rewrite how you perceive yourself in the mirror. So I want you to stay anchored, identify what is and where you're stuck, and then you have to make the decision and be willing to take the steps necessary to extract the wisdom and the lessons from what you're going through, from what you've survived personally and or professionally. And then when the moment is right, release the patterns, the fears, the performances, and the need to prove so that your next season receives your clearest judgment and fullest presence. If you wish to build a future, begin with the architecture within yourself. Because until you unlock what the noise has buried and deepen your understanding of who you are under pressure, while also learning something new and then making that decision to nurture it through service, you will always find yourself in repetitive cycles of disruptions. And then ask yourself, why am I here? How did I get here again? Here's the truth. What we bury alive in our psyche does not vanish. It waits, then leaks, ultimately surfacing in our tone, urgency, and our need for control. And over time, we become exhausted, distanced, and then we take on this tendency to overfunction. Unattended patterns do not disappear, they repeat. And I've learned this the hard way. So I was sharing with someone today that one of the reasons why I took a leap of faith and decided to go ahead and launch this podcast that's been sitting under the rocks for many years is because I'm hoping if it's even one person, one leader out there, whether you're a parent, a grandparent, a leader in the marketplace, whatever, I'm not worried about your title. I'm worried about you within that role. If it's one person I can reach through this medium, then I would have fulfilled a small percentage of my vocation. What we bury alive in our psyche does not vanish. Eventually, They demand attention, often at the most inconvenient, costly, or public moments. So if you do not harvest the lessons, you will repeat the season. Let me say that again. If you do not harvest the lessons from the disruption, that place where you're feeling stuck right now, I encourage you to harvest the lessons so you do not repeat the season. I've been thinking a lot about how in many ways, the place where you feel stuck or the disruption you're facing may be the unfinished material finally rising to the surface. And it's not to punish you, but to reveal what must be acknowledged, integrated, and transformed so you can live and lead forward with clarity rather than continue carrying what you never had the time or space to fully name, process, or learn from. So today, I will guide you through 5 practices designed to help you harvest wisdom from any challenging situation. These practices, I hope, will assist you in naming what has genuinely changed. Notice where the change is pressing against you, and recognize the patterns that emerge under pressure. My hope is that you'll be able to reconnect to your core, the core standards, the inner part of who you are, the part of you that remains steady when everything around you shifts. So, are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go to work. In the show notes, you'll find a downloadable worksheet created to guide your reflection using the Harvest Wisdom practice. Now, this visual is like a tool to support the process, okay? And as we're exploring this process today, if you're multitasking, please just listen and then come back to the recording, download the worksheet, and then get to work. My hope is that you'll be able to capture your insights with clarity and intention. So for now, download the worksheet, or you can grab a large sheet of paper and something to write with. And as I said before, if you're multitasking, feel free to reflect mentally as you're listening. Okay. Now, I invite you to recall the situation you identified in episode 1, the one you're currently navigating. Maybe it's a place where you feel stuck or have already moved through, and you just know within your soul's wisdom that something isn't right. You know, for some of you, as I said before, maybe you find yourself in repetitive cycles, right? So I want you to hold it alongside the person you envisioned in episode 2. It's important that that vision, and I encourage you to write that person as a vision statement, and let that serve as your North Star. Now, please understand that you're not ignoring the disruption that you're navigating or the one that you survived or the place where you're stuck. No. You're choosing to harvest wisdom from it so that it strengthens who you are becoming, clarifies what matters, and helps you break free from the patterns this season came to reveal. Here's what many of us do without realizing. We change jobs, roles, relationships, or strategies, yet carry the same unexamined patterns into the next space, the next season, the next situation, right? Harvesting wisdom allows you to complete the lesson here so you do not recreate the same story in a new setting. This is how you carry forward your growth, not your unfinished business. A new environment will not heal an old pattern. Let me say that again, because I had to learn this the hard way. I don't like the word saved. I'm hoping to help someone to grab curiosity and explore this statement. A new environment, a new relationship, a new partnership will not heal an old pattern. This is why patterns matter. If we do not pay attention to recurring emotional and protective leadership patterns, we may end up reliving the same experiences in different contexts. What I mean by that, we encounter similar moments in every environment, every relationship, and in every leadership dynamics we co-create, wondering why they follow us. It's like a ghost of the past. Disruption has a unique way of revealing those repeating threads. I've noticed that. Disruptions have a way of acting like a mirror, not just showing you what happened externally, but revealing what gets activated internally, what you revert to under pressure, and what keeps reappearing until it is fully named, understood, and transformed. My friends, if it continues to repeat, it is not random. It is a pattern seeking recognition. So let's walk through the 5 practices of how we harvest wisdom from the disruption you're navigating, the place where you're feeling stuck. You've got to do the work though, okay? So number 1, name what has actually changed. Because what remains unnamed still influences your decisions, and often from the background, unnamed change becomes noise in your psyche and confusion in your leadership. Naming what has actually changed can help to restore your agency and reduce inner conflict. So I want you to go ahead and ask yourself, what truth am I refusing to name because naming it would force a decision? What has it cost me to protect the illusion that things are still the same? Number 2, identify the pressure point. Disruption really impacts everything equally because it's not linear. Disruption has a way of pressing on specific values, your identity, and your vulnerabilities. And these are areas where you care deeply and feel least protected. Here's the power. When you pinpoint that pressure point, you can stop reacting in general reactive and respond with precision. And that is what I want for you. So ask yourself, where does this hit me hardest? Is it in your belonging, your worth, your security, or your reputation? Name it. Face it. So go ahead and write it down. Then I also want you to ask yourself, what fear is quietly driving my next move? Or what strength is driving my next move? I want you to identify the pressure point. Number 3, acknowledge your pattern under pressure. Now, this is the one where, let me tell you, I've written dozens of papers on this one. Acknowledge your pattern under pressure. And what I mean by that is that under pressure, the unconscious often takes over. The old strategies quickly step in to protect us, right? Naming these patterns, bring them into awareness, allowing you to choose how to respond instead of default into survival mode. That's powerful, my friends. So ask yourself this question. Actually, I'm going to have you ask yourself 2 questions here. When I feel exposed, what do I do that resembles leadership but is actually self-protection? Ouch. I know. The next question is, what pattern constantly leads to the same outcome, just with different people and different titles? Ooh, I know you're like, ooh, Dr. Lee. Oh, yes. I want you to take your power back from disruption. So go ahead, acknowledge your pattern under pressure. Number 4, return to your core standard, my friends. When roles, relationship, and outcome shifts, your internal standards help you stabilize your identity. They keep you grounded, unaffected by approval or external pressure. Now, it doesn't mean you don't feel it. It doesn't mean that you're exempted from pain and, heartbroken. No, that's not what I mean here. I want you to take your power back and return to the core of who you are. So ask yourself, when this chapter concludes, what do I want to respect about myself? And I get teary-eyed when I ask myself this question when I'm going through a difficult season. When this chapter concludes, what do I want to respect about myself? The next question is, where am I tempted to abandon my standard for the sake of access, approval, or control? Take your power back from disruption, my friends. Number 5, demonstrate the standard in action. Insight without action leads to overthinking. Action enables wisdom to shape your behavior, making transformation both tangible and sustainable. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the smallest brave step that proves I mean what I say I value? What boundary, conversation, or choice brings me back to myself today? Once you've reflected on these questions, I'm going to ask you to take it a step further. Condense your responses into a personal mantra, a phrase to return to when pressure mounts, because this will become your thread, guiding you to carry disruption as wisdom rather than tension. And as I said before, in times of disruption, we often relinquish our power, handing it over to opinions, uncertainties, and even timelines. And this is why you must hold on to your vision, the vision of who you are becoming, not as denial, but as direction. What you do next is where the wisdom becomes concrete. So that mantra, I want you to keep it close. Let it inform your decisions, your tone of voice, how you show up, and also your leadership, and most importantly, how you live. Because even now, a new tapestry is being woven, and the thread you follow becomes the strength you carry, my friends. Now, after completing this exercise, I want you to step back and observe what you have created. If you were with me in a room, we would be working with cloths and sticky notes and big papers, and at the center would be your disruption. And at the top, you would have your vision statement of who you're becoming. And then around that, and I'm going to put that in the show note as well, you'll have these circles, and the thread connecting them includes the patterns, the challenges, right? And those patterns that stabilizes you and the ones that strain you, that's what you would put around the disruption to remind yourself, these are the ones I need to pull from when I'm going through a disruptive moment, and those are the ones I need to be aware of. And this marks the beginning of a new, more authentic and grounded narrative. Yes, I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath. I want you to always stand in the truth of who you are and never give away your power to disruption. Let's conclude with a reflection. There's a quote often attributed to Nelson Mandela that says, "I never lose, I either win or learn." And I think Churchill once said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." I know he knows better than to say crisis is good, right? But here's the thing. The essence behind Mandela's words is what matters most. As all of you are aware, Mandela's leadership was forged under immense pressure. Years of confinement, ethical dilemmas, and public scrutiny. He did not deny pain, but what I love and respect about that man is that he refused to allow it to lack meaning. Let me say that again. Nelson Mandela did not deny pain, but refused to allow the pain, right, to lack meaning. Now, this sentiment is especially pertinent for leaders today. While you may not physically live in confinement, I know that many of you are navigating the invisible pressures of expectations and visibility, managing the burden of composure in uncertain environments, and that alone can strip you of your identity, your power, and even strip you down and strip away your values. My friends, Harvest Wisdom invites you to pause, reflect, and derive meaning from disruption before advancing, before moving forward, before bouncing back. So rather than rushing to recover or revert to the past, Harvest Wisdom allows you to uncover insights, patterns, and lessons hidden within your own experience. It's like a messenger and also a mirror. Sometimes I think disruption is also a revealer, and it can empower you to live and lead forward with clarity, integrity, and intention. To recap, you have acknowledged the disruption that you're navigating. You have envisioned who you are becoming. You have begun learning what this season aimed to teach you through Harvest Wisdom. In our next episode, we will explore the next stage, which is to release patterns. We will discuss how to let go of what once protected you, but now it no longer supports your leadership. As you move forward, I encourage you to revisit this question often. What is this season trying to teach me before I progress? What is this season that you're in trying to teach you before you progress forward? If today's conversation resonated with you, please share it with someone navigating disruption. Subscribe, leave a brief review, and don't forget to download the worksheet available in the show notes. One more homework for you. I want you to choose one insight and bring it into a conversation this week, this month, this year. Let the wisdom become lived, not just learned. As always, thank you for engaging in this work that not only shifts your outcomes, but transforms who you are at the very core of your being. I'm Dr. Leonie H. Mattison, your host, and this is the Achieve Intentional Transformation podcast. Until next time, take a deep breath, stay hydrated, and you know what I love to say, go for a walk. If you can, please step outside and reconnect with nature. And if your inbox, like mine tried to do today, tries to schedule a crisis for tomorrow, here's how you can respond, my friend. Tell your inbox, I'm harvesting wisdom today. Try me next week. I don't know if it worked, but I have been saying that quite a bit to my inbox. Here's the last thing I'll say to us. I have witnessed leaders discover that when they remain on the path instead of rushing to exit, clarity begins to unfold, not all at once, but step by step. I know you have the power to live and lead with greater truth and carry less weight alone. So harvest, take the time, slow down. I know you're in a difficult season right now. I know many of you are feeling stuck, and I can only imagine what that feels like, because all of us, each of us, our journeys are different. But you have the power to harvest wisdom. Do your own Sankofa, right? Go back and fetch the wisdom that this season was meant to teach you. Until next time, take care now, my friends.